Hello, everybody, and thanks for clicking into another edition of Sit Down with Ed Brown. Today's guest, or should I say guest, come to us from, you know what, I'm going to let you decide. You guys are going to have to guess where she's from because I think it'll be a dead giveaway, or at least pretty darn close when you hear her talk. But let's please welcome to the show Melissa George and her publicist and daughter-in-law, Cari. Hi, ladies. How are you today?
Hi, Ed. We're doing good. How are you?
Doing great. You guys having fun down here in the South? We won't say where. You guys having fun down in the South?
Yes, it's hot down here. And the mosquitoes are out already.
The what's out? I'm sorry?
The mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes are out already?
The skeeters.
The skeeters. Yeah, see, there's clue number one, people. Clue number one, the skeeters are out today. I'm actually in Southern California right now, and it is actually cold. So that doesn't make any sense at all.
We are 98.
98. Wow. 98 degrees in there. I think it's like 50 here, so it's not fair.
Wow.
Not fair. I will actually be there in South Carolina in about a week. So looking forward to I just gave it away, didn't I? All right, guys. I just gave it away. From South Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, Melissa George and her publicist and daughter-in-law, Cari. All right. Let's get you started. You know what? I want to start off because Melissa, you have a very wide range of talents. I mean, you're a writer. You're also an investigator. You've had a lot of experiences, which I definitely want to touch on. One in particular that you were telling us about beforehand, a couple months ago, and I'm really want to kind of dig into that a little bit. But is there any particular genre that you prefer? Because I know you write about paranormal, you write about Bigfoot. What's your favorite?
I'd have to say Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's your favorite.
Yeah.
What got you into it? I mean, how did you get involved with the Bigfoot thing in the first place?
Well, we were part of a paranormal team, and we had some team members that were interested in cryptids. So we decided to branch off, start a cryptid team that's adjacent to our paranormal. Well, as it turned out, we had some property that we had access to that was supposed to have a couple of Bigfoot sightings. So we go out to check out the property and see if it's a good place to take the team out, and we actually came across a few tracks.
Awesome.
It wasn't long after that we had our first sighting, and then we were actually out with the team one night, and me and Cari had a rock about the size of a cinder block thrown at us.
Wow.
From up in a tree.
Yeah.
Came from up in a tree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it came crashing through tree branches.
Wow. So, was that, I'm sure you found that kind of intimidating, kind of scary. I mean, what were your thoughts when a big rock that size comes hurling at you? I mean, what goes through your mind?
Okay, I'll keep that clean. How quick can I get out of these woods?
Right. So I mean, would you think, like, I think we need to stick to ghosts? Is that kind of what went through your mind? That would be the clean version?
Yeah. It took us a while, actually. Me and Cari had to push through that to be comfortable, just me and her, out in the woods again. We kind of stuck with a group the next few times, but
I think Bigfoot's much scarier than the paranormal.
Oh, I agree. And,
yeah.
And I actually really get into the paranormal as well, and I love. Actually, I'm more interested in the paranormal than I am Bigfoot, which is probably going to surprise people. But I really find the paranormal interesting, fascinating, and I've done some ghost hunts myself, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, it was fun to a point, but when you've got activity in your own home, it kind of gets no fun.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it would depend on the activity as well. I mean, if you're if your keys are being moved, okay, you got a fun little ghost. If you are being grabbed and nothing there, then not so much.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's the aspect, if you're investigating a cemetery, there's a fun part to that. But then when you're going to someone's house and you try to help them, it's not fun. It's serious.
It's work. Absolutely right. I agree 100%.
Right.
So let's kind of. I know this is a Bigfoot show, and I know that people listen because they love Bigfoot, and I thank you everybody for listening for that reason. But I want to talk about the paranormal just a little bit, because when you go out ghost hunting, what have you experienced? Let's start with Cari. Cari, what have you personally experienced while out ghost hunting?
Let's see. I guess I've experienced more in our own home than out on investigations. But out on investigations, I got sick. The strangest thing to me was we were out investigating an old cemetery that has some people buried in it that are very historical figures. And there's some controversy with this cemetery with one particular grave, two particular graves. Well, there were some people that came up that were going to do a Wiccan ceremony around one of the graves.
Right.
Well, we had permission to be there, but these people did not, and we're trying to get them to leave, and they're not leaving. Well, I got permission from them to film their ceremony. And when I went to walk in that direction, I ran into a wall. A wall, as solid as could be, but there was nothing in front of me and could not go any further. And that entire night, I only could see 2 of the people, and the rest of the team saw 4 and 6 people.
Yeah, there were 6 total.
There were 6, and I could only see 2 of them. And then there would be, like, people appear in the area where they were, and then they weren't there anymore. That particular experience was probably the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Sure. Now, when you talk about a wall, are you referring to you just could not move past a particular point,
right.
Or do you mean there was physically something there that
something physically stopped me?
Wow. And it's funny because you can correlate that type of paranormal activity with a lot of things that people report when Bigfoot, And
yeah.
I think that's a very interesting, because I actually know someone, and I was there when it happened, who had the exact same thing happen, but on a Bigfoot investigation, and it wasn't paranormal. It was on a Bigfoot investigation. So I always wondered, like, maybe there's 2 things going on in this area. Maybe there's Bigfoot activity and there's paranormal activity, both happening. So is that possible?
The more our teams research, the more we're finding out that somehow these things are intertwined.
Sure. Melissa, how about you? What's the scary thing? Go ahead.
Melissa actually experienced that with the not being able to go any further on a Bigfoot investigation.
Yeah.
I was walking in a specific direction because we had heard someone yell help, and she could not go any further. I kept on going, but she could not go any further.
And again, was it the same thing? Was it almost like there was a force field there that you just couldn't get through, or was it just a thing where in your mind you just knew you could not continue?
Both.
Both?
You're physically not going any further, and you don't know why, because you want to follow, but you're not going any further. And then you're thinking, am I picking up on something? Maybe I shouldn't go.
Right. Is something telling me you've gone far enough?
Right. Right.
That's great. That's awesome. So let's get into the Bigfoot. What? Give me an example of something. And I know during your conversations, Melissa, you and I have had in the past, pretty close to your own home, you have a lot of activity, Bigfoot related.
Yes.
Tell me something that's happened that you felt was intimidating or scary.
Okay, like we were talking about the paranormal and the Bigfoot intertwining.
Yes.
We had 4 grown men. It's 4 team members. It's my husband and son, and 2 of our team members are out in the middle of the woods, and they're not getting much activity that day. They're just standing around talking, and they hear something running through the dry leaves, you know, the crunch, the footfalls. Something's running, and it's coming toward them. Well, they're all looking, waiting on something to show up, and it runs right to them, right past them, and they hear it run out to the distance to where the footfalls fade away. They never saw a thing.
That's interesting. I actually experienced something very, very similar to that myself. And, again, it goes back to, is it paranormal or is it Bigfoot, you know?
Exactly. And they said it was definitely bipedal. They could tell it had a wide stride, but there was nothing there to be seen.
Sure. Well, a lot of people would call that maybe a cloaked Bigfoot. Would you think that was the case, or what are your views on cloaking?
Okay, views on cloaking.
It's a tough question.
I can't say that it doesn't exist.
Right.
I can say that I haven't experienced cloaking.
Right.
Right. Good answer.
But, you know, that could be something that I've yet to experience.
Right.
So I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say until I experience it, I can't say a whole lot about it.
Right. Well, I'm with you 100% on that, and I feel the same way. And like I said, I had an experience very similar to what your husband and the other members experienced, and it's kind of terrifying because I'm not going to lie, it scared the bejeebies out of me. You know, I heard something coming at me like a bluff charge. I mean, this thing was huge, coming through the trees and just breaking limbs, and we hit the lights right away, and there was absolutely nothing there. And that's kind of like you know, what the heck, you know.
We had that same experience, and we'd been sitting on a log. You know, we'd walked so far out in the woods, and everybody's taking a break. Well, sure enough, here comes that bluff charge, and all the men jump up, you know, weapons drawn.
Sure.
And it stops.
Huh. There's
nothing else. Well, and I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I think it's time to go back to camp.
Right.
Some don't want us here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a scary thing to happen, and it would be intimidating, and because you know you can put a face on something that you see. You know, you can physically go, okay, that thing's big and it scares me. That thing's little, I'm not scared. You know, you can base your opinion based on what you see. But when you hear something and there's nothing there, that's going to affect you differently because you don't know.
Yeah. And your mind is naturally trying to rationalize, but there's no way to rationalize that.
Exactly. So you told me about an experience you had where there were some workers close to your house. Would you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah. I'm not going to mention any names here,
sure,
but
of course.
Somebody we all know and love. I was talking to, and he has his own podcast, but I was telling him about some experiences that our team was having out in the woods, and we were seeing this distant light. And every time we would go toward this light, it fades off, and it'll disappear. Well, we go about our business, and it shows up again, you know, and this just kept happening. Well, this guy asked me, he says, have you ever thought about a headlamp? And I'm like, oh, my God, that makes sense. There's someone else out in the woods with us. Mm-hmm. That made perfect sense. Well, we had started checking into the possibility of somebody being out there. We quit announcing what we were going to be doing on Facebook. And when we quit announcing where we were going to be, the headlamp quit showing up.
Huh.
But then after this, our emails got hacked. And my husband and I were coming home. We had been in town and run some errands, and we were coming home one day. It was raining. And there was a fire truck blocking the road to get to our house. And there was a whole bunch of other vehicles with it. Well, I started snapping pictures. I've always got my camera on me.
Sure.
And I started snapping pictures. Well, the flash from the camera got the guy's attention, and a couple of them started walking toward the car. Well, we just backed up, turned around, and we went around the block and came in the other way to get to our house. Well, instead of going home, we passed the driveway and stopped at the top of the hill the other direction, and I'm, taking pictures again because I'm wondering what is going on. Well, again, they started to approach the car, so we just turned around and went home. Well, when I got in, I was telling Cari about what had just happened, and I was showing her the pictures. Well, she calls the
Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I basically said, this bridge is right next to our house, and I have 2 small children. Do I need to avoid this bridge? The woman says, asked me for the name of the road again, and I told her, and she said, oh, I know what you're talking about. That bridge is perfectly safe. There's nothing to worry about there.
But the people were working on the bridge, apparently.
Oh, the bridge was unstable.
Yeah.
Huh. So did you ever get any clarification about what was going on?
No, we didn't. And what made that really strange is a week before this, we were having the team had come down. We were going to have, expedition, get out in the woods a little bit. And my grandson had went next door to stay with my parents. He was 5 years old, roughly, at the time. But they were going to take him to McDonald's. Well, we had been grilling at the edge of the woods, going to have some dinner before we hit the woods that night. My parents got to leave with my grandson, and when they get to the stop road, they're looking at something big had been hitting the road. Now, we're surrounded by woods, we're off in the boondocks. And both of my parents said that there was a pickup truck and a deputy sheriff car sitting by this thing that's in the road. My parents have lived in this area their whole lives. They said it was too big to be a bear, it was too big to be a horse, and it was covered in brown fur. And it was in the middle of the road. Well, they're sitting there watching this and trying to figure out what's going on. The deputy sheriff realized that they're sitting there watching. So he gets in his squad car and pulls in between to where they can't see this animal anymore. So they leave. They go on down the road just a few minutes. They turn around and come back up to see if they can get a better look at this thing, and it's gone. Completely gone. Well, my Miss Cari detective here is that night we had a lot of activity in the woods. We got whoops, we got screams, we got yells, we got rocks thrown at us. I mean, it was just crazy. So the next morning is when my parents were telling us what happened to them that night. And it was maybe 500 yards from the woods where this thing had been hit. So Cari plays detective, and she could take it from there.
I called the sheriff's department to inquire about a report of something being hit, since the sheriff's department was there. Well, I know that if a farm animal is hit, they have to notify the farmer, and the farmer has to go about through the right process to get the animal moved. Well, that was too quick for that to happen, but I still played that part. And they told me that there's no report of anything or any call for that area that night, and that I should check with the Department of Transportation. So I call the Department of Transportation, and they tell me to call the Sheriff's Department. And I tell them I've already done that. So she looks it up for me, and she says that she needs to call me back. And she said before she tells me that she has to call me back, she says, "Oh, I see it. Okay. Oh, wait, I need to call you back." So she gets my information, and the supervisor calls me back. And he asked me who I am, who I'm related to, where I live, and why I want to know this information. Well, I answered his questions, and I told him that I was doing a documentary about wildlife in the area, which wasn't a complete fib. It was just not their kind of wildlife.
Right.
And he tells me that there was nothing that happened on that road that night, and left it at that. Well, why did he want to know all my information, and why did the woman tell me she found it if they had nothing there?
Good question.
Yeah.
So she said that she found it.
Right.
But then she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna have to call you back."
Yeah. Right. But there was a red flag.
Right. Exactly. It would lead you to believe that yes, she found it, and then after she said that, she sees a little side note saying, "Any inquiries, please call here first." You know.
Right.
Right.
So that's interesting. So do you feel like there's a cover up going on? Is that
definitely? I really do.
There's no doubt in my mind.
And you think that that's all the way down to the local authorities?
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I don't think the state troopers that have just been there for a year have anything to do with it, but I think they are conditioned to call a supervisor if there's something that they're not, if it's not a run-of-the-mill situation.
Right, right.
Now, we did have a friend on the inside that checked the database of the sheriff's department. There had been information entered on that night on this highway at that certain time, but it had since been deleted.
Huh.
And the following week, our emails were hacked continuously.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. So what kind of vehicles were they driving? It seems like, Melissa, you had mentioned white trucks or something along those lines. Maybe I'm getting my stories confused.
A couple of black SUVs,
some
pickup trucks, a whole bunch of men standing near the fire truck. Actually, I sent the images to Dan.
Okay, good.
So the images I
at them about right now.
The images I took that day I've sent to Dan.
Good deal. Good deal. So what do you, I think I know the answer to this question, but Cari, I'm going to ask you first. What would you guess it to have been, and what is it about it that leads you to believe that that's what it was?
That was in the road?
Yes.
I believe it was a Bigfoot. I believe it was the mate of another one here because of the screaming that we heard and the different activity we had that night. And it correlated with, that time correlated with what we were doing. And if it were a bear, why didn't they just say it was a bear?
Right, right. Good
I mean, that's just, it's the same thing with the black cats in this area. I have seen a black cat with my own eyes, but they don't exist. And if you happen to see one, it was just a big house cat.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, Melissa? What do you think it was, and what makes you think that?
I feel that it was a Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. My dad leaned that way, but he wouldn't come right out and say it. And in these woods alone, where the thing looked to be crossed, has been 8+ sightings.
Well,
one of which is even on the BFRO website.
Yeah.
Really? Good, good. We'll look that up. Now, I'm going to have to say I agree with you, ladies, because, and for me, it's the secrecy behind it or around it, and, of course, the description that you were told, it was too big to be a bear, too big to be a horse, but it was covered in fur, laying in the street. Did anyone ever find out who it was that hit it? No.
And we have actually went looking for the pickup truck. We had a description of the truck. We've been everywhere. There's nobody around here that owns a truck like that anymore.
And see, where we live is still the good old boy system, so if sheriff came down the road and told you got to get rid of that truck and get another one, guess what you're going to do? Most people are going to get rid of that truck and get a new one.
Right, right.
I won't, but, you know. I like to stir things up.
No, that's good. And I agree with you. You know, nobody can tell me what I can drive, what I can't drive, you know.
That's right. That's right.
I'm with you on that. So, ladies, let me ask you this. Now, you've obviously had some, and that's a very cool, interesting story right there in your own backyard, basically. Have there ever been any other things along those lines where you've seen people that aren't normally around that you just don't recognize?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Give me an example.
We've got a field which, like, we're in the boondocks. We're surrounded by woods. Got this pretty big field over near our house, and one night, dogs start raising Cain, which we were raising pit bulls at the time, so I had like 6 big dogs from the yard. And they're raising Cain, and my son, which he's an adult, he gets up and looks outside, and it's like 1 a.m., and there's a truck driving across the field toward the woods, and it's raining. We're like, okay, this is not normal. It wasn't long after that, there's another truck comes in behind the first one, and these people get out with flashlights, and they go down in the woods, and it's raining. Well, the next day, me and Cari and the grandkids are out in the front yard, and we hear this helicopter coming, and this thing is flying so low. Got the doors open. You can see 4 men in it. And one guy has
big gun.
Yeah, has a big gun laid across his lap. And they're just circling the woods.
They're flying so low, the birds were flying out of the bushes.
Right. Well, it sounds like you guys are in a hot spot with something there. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, that would be a great thing to experience. I mean, to an extent, I guess, you know.
Well, we would just love to have you come out and experience it. Right.
Now that you said you saw a dog run across the field first, I mean, is there any chance that maybe these are just hunters that are looking for deer, or is the property owned by anyone? What's the deal with the property?
No, we own the dogs. The dogs were just raising Cain. They were chained that night.
Oh, they were your dogs. I'm sorry. I thought you said that you saw a dog run across the field. You thought that was odd. I got you. Okay.
But it is private property. There's no hunting allowed. There's not been any hunting allowed on this property for 30-plus years.
Wow. Okay. And do you know the property owner?
Yes.
Have you talked to them to find out if they know what's going on?
Yes.
And what was their response?
They've allowed 1 or 2 people to come in and deer hunt, hog hunt per se, but it's only a rare individual.
Sure.
And they have had people leave the woods and tell them they'll never be back down here. You know, I'm not coming back hunting here.
Right.
These woods are adjacent. They have a swamp. They're a quarter of a mile from chicken houses. There is white-tailed deer. There's wild boar. There's turkey. There's coyote.
Plus, these woods are connected to other patches of woods that lead directly to the big lake in the area.
So in other words, there is a food source, there's a water source, there's plenty of shelter as well. I mean,
yes, and nobody around to bother anything. I mean, there's nobody going out in the woods.
Right. Except the occasional hunter, very, very seldom, and of course the Bigfoot researchers like yourself. So,
yes.
So do you ever go out there and just like maybe set up voice recorders or trail cams or anything like that? Do you ever do that?
Oh, definitely. More luck with the voice recorders than the trail cams. But, yeah, I've picked up a lot of the howls, the yells, the bipedal walking.
Breathing?
Yeah, heavy breathing.
Wow.
And we did have 2 of our team members, which are 2 ladies, and they're filling their bucket list is what they're doing. So they decided to set a tent up. Well, I told them that it wouldn't be a good idea to have any food with them that night, while they're out in the tent. But
Sure.
They thought it'd be a good idea to have margaritas and cashews. Where that came from, I'll never know. But then they hear something, and it's walking around their tent at 2 a.m. It's huffing and puffing and walking around the tent. One of the ladies, now, mental image here, she said, I could hear it. I just knew it was a Bigfoot. She said, I had my phone pointed toward the zipper of the tent. In case it tried to come in, I could snap a picture, and then I was going to stun it with my stun gun. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh.
And I'm thinking if I were a Bigfoot, I wouldn't want to come across you ladies.
Well,
You're tough ladies.
We did have the trail cam pointed to their tent that night, but it got tilted down. It filmed the ground all night long.
Wait. So you set one up, and then at some point in the night, it got tilted towards the ground so it wouldn't see anything.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And the ground was packed down around the tent. It was definitely packed down. Didn't get any footprints, couldn't cast anything.
Sure.
It was definitely mashed down.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies, that's so cool, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm gonna have to get out there. If you allow me, I'd like to come out sometime and bring.
I'd love to have you come out. Stay as long as you like.
I might just do that. Bring another investigator or two with me if that's okay. And
please do.
Yes.
And we'll come out and have some fun and see what we can round up. That just sounds like a lot of fun.
We would love to have you come out anytime.
And my son will be happy to teach you how to do a Bigfoot call.
Oh, yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that because I cannot do a Bigfoot call at all. I sound more like a choking bear than I do a Bigfoot. So I don't do them myself. But I try to make sure I have someone with me who can.
Well, he's 6 and he loves looking for Bigfoot.
Good.
So he'll be glad to help you out.
Awesome. We'd love to have you. So, Melissa, I'm going to change gears here because, again, I think that's fascinating. I'm going to switch gears because, again, you bring so many facets to this genre. It's awesome. But do you use your own experiences when you write a book? I mean, tell me about your inspiration.
Now, I do have a couple of books out that's about our team and our experiences, and then I have a couple of books out that is about the paranormal that we've lived through. But the majority of my books are other people's stories.
Cool.
And you would be surprised at how many people have an encounter with a Bigfoot or have an encounter with a dog man, and they're traumatized.
Oh, yeah. I think you'd be surprised to hear that I'm not surprised.
Yeah. These people really suffer with what they've encountered, and they can't move forward. They can't get past it. They can't talk to people about it because people's going to think they're crazy.
Right.
And that's where, if it sounds believable and we can verify that it's believable, I'm going to help them with that story. I'm going to help them get that story out there. It's going to help with the research, and it's going to help bring maybe some closure to them.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And Cari, how do you help Melissa with her books? I mean, I know that she said you're a publicist and also her daughter-in-law. But what is your job?
Well, when it comes to her, actually, when she's writing the books, she makes initial contact. Well, a person makes initial contact with her and tells her their story. Well, she talks to me about it, and we decide if we think that it's a plausible story. And then I talk to them more in depth. I was a paranormal case manager for the team we were on,
mm-hmm.
So I kind of have some insight into being able to tell, okay, are they imagining this, or is this real? So I do that, and then I also go and I talk with other members of their family. I talk with friends. I talk with anybody official that could possibly verify their story, whether that's verifying a police report or verifying a cryptid emergency room. Just anything that I can get to not only help her add details that the other people may not know or may not think about, but also help her verify that this actually did happen.
Right. So, Melissa, tell me about your process when you're writing a book. What's the process of laying it out and then putting it in word form?
Well, it's talking with them, working closely with them, asking the question of, well, how did you feel about that? And what did you do right after that? And trying to bring out more detail that maybe they have forgotten.
What could you see when you looked out the window?
Yeah, just trying to get as much detail as I can from them and sitting down and coming out with a story and hoping it's going to flow, hoping for the best, hoping I bring them some closure, hoping I put something out there that somebody might enjoy reading, hoping I've put something out there that might help in the research.
Sure. That's awesome. So how many books do you have out right now?
14.
14.
Working on 2 more.
Great. And where can our listeners find these if they're interested in checking them out?
melissageorge.net.
melissageorge.net. Hope everybody got that. And I want to say, by the way, I know last year you donated some autographed copies to the International Bigfoot Conference, and I was the one that actually gave them away, and I can tell you that the person who won those was very happy, and it was very cool. So, I'm telling you guys, if you guys are interested, you should be interested. Check out melissageorge.net and check out these books and order them because, I have actually, she gave me a copy of a couple of them, and I did kind of read them, and I think she does a great job, and I can tell that the stories are, they're not just fiction. Do you use any creative liberties when you write these books, or do you keep it as close as possible to the story?
I want it as close as possible to what exactly happened.
Awesome. So you said you have 2 more coming out soon. What are those about?
One's a Bigfoot. The other I can't give away. It's going to be a surprise.
It's going to be a surprise.
It's going to be a big surprise.
All right, listeners, do we feel like we're being teased here? I do.
I hope so.
Right. Well, the only way to find out is to go to melissageorge.net, right?
That's right. It'll tell you a little bit about it, but you're not going to get too much.
And when do you expect these 2 books to be ready?
Oh, my gosh. Pinpoint me. The one I'm working on now, I'd say another month, and then maybe 2 months on the next. So.
Awesome. Well, Melissa, do you have anything else or Terry, do you guys have anything else that you'd want to add to this? Is there anything I forgot or something else you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. When you finally do make it out here, we're going to have to let you check out the Paranormal, too.
Awesome. We'd love to. Yeah, that would be great. I got to tell you this story real quick, and I don't get a chance to talk about the paranormal very often. But while I've got a couple of paranormal ladies on here, I'm going to go ahead and discuss this real quick. But I had an experience, and I actually have this on audio if I can find it, but it was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I was in Ohio, and I was at a little pond, and my brother and I had gone fishing there a couple of nights before this and had some crazy stuff happen. So me and another guy went down later, a couple of days later, and we were standing there. We had some things going on that but it was pretty cool. And I had said, and I have a video camera with me, but it picks up absolutely nothing. It's completely black. So I got the audio on this though. It was pretty cool because we heard something what sounded like something walking on the water. It was a crazy sound. It wasn't fish jumping or it was something walking on top of the water. You hear the splat, splat, splat. So I said, all right. Let's find out if this is really something happening and it's intelligent. So I said, okay, if you're real and you're walking on the water, take 5 steps towards me. And again, this is on audio, and you hear splat, 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 and then it stops.
Oh, wow.
So my buddy who's with me, he's going, oh my God. I'm like, wait. Could have been a coincidence. Let's just test it. So I said, okay, if something really is there, do me a favor, and if you want us to leave, just take 3 more steps towards us. Splat, 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 and stop. So, I kept my word, as you should when you tell a ghost, hey, if you want us to leave, do this and I'll leave. You got to leave. So we did. And it was a very cool experience, and that was probably one of my coolest paranormal investigation experiences. That was just pretty wild.
That's cool. Wow.
Yeah. So this was an intelligent response to a question, and I thought that was really cool. So I do love the paranormal, and if we can do some paranormal stuff while I'm out there, we will just have to do that.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. So, Cari, what about you? Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, gosh, ladies, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was fun. I loved the real life experiences. I love the fact, Melissa, that you write your books based on real life experiences. And I'm going to urge everyone again, go to melissageorge.net. Check out her books. Order 2, 3, 4, 5, 14 of them. Order them all because I'm telling you, she's a talented writer, and I love the fact that they're based on real events. It just makes the entire story better. So with that, ladies, thank you so much. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We've had a blast.
Absolutely, I had a blast as well. And with that, ladies, we are out.